Welcome to the Dynamics Hotdish, the podcast where Ashley Steiner, Allie Nelson, and Liz McLennan dish up the latest news and insights about Dynamics and the Power Platform. Join us to explore business applications and low-code development with tips, tricks, and real-world experiences. So grab a seat at the table and let's dig in.
I'm really excited. We have a new group today. I'm not looking at normal. Well, I guess I'm looking at an old face. Liz, you're back. Kind of weird.
I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, and we have Allie who's joining us. This is really exciting.
Also not necessarily a new face to you two because we've known each other for a while now. I'm thinking back to what I met Liz almost 2 years ago now over at company we both worked at together, and then Ashley met you down at Community Summit like a year and a half ago now too. So it's kind of crazy.
Houston, yeah. I think that's one of the cool things, like how this podcast came together just originally is just people that we knew in the space and we talked to quite a bit. And I think that that's kind of the new direction that we're taking as well, is just people that have met in the community and stayed friends, you know, because of the community. You know, we had this like reason. So obviously we shared in the last podcast that we are just doing some things a little different. We have some new faces. So I'm glad that everyone is here and has stuck through, even with that bittersweet announcement, but definitely sweet now that we have you guys here. So Allie, you're new to everyone. Even if we have some old listeners, I know, you know, Liz, we'll talk to Liz about what you've been up to, but Allie would just tell our listeners more about you, what you do. So I feel like this is like a dating profile. We're like, tell us all about you, Allie.
No pressure.
No pressure. Perfect. Well, yeah, it's funny because whenever I get asked this question too, it's like, well, how far back do I go? How much do people care about?
The very beginning, the day you were born.
Oh, well, speaking of, I will say I was born and raised in Wisconsin. So shout out to the Midwest. I actually grew up very close to where Ashley just recently lived too, which is really funny, but we did not know each other. So born and raised in Wisconsin, go Badgers. Went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison and was fully set, you guys, on honestly going to dental school. Teeth were like super important to me. And I very much wanted to go into biology and go to dental school. And then I started shadowing dentists. And once you see inside certain people's mouths, you don't really want to be a dentist anymore. So power to everyone who is a dentist. I still love going to the dentist, but I don't want to look in other people's mouths.
Wait, you love going to the dentist?
Okay, all of this is like, I hate that. Everybody hates the dentist. That's like a common
I'm neutral.
thing.
That's good, as long as you take care of your teeth. But I love going to the dentist because I like the feeling afterwards when everything's all really clean. And I've never had a cavity either, so it's also like getting an A on your report card every time. Like you walk out there super confident, like, yeah, that's right, I'm awesome still.
A+.
Do they give you a sucker, or was that just when you were a kid, or a sticker? They probably don't give out suckers because of all the sugar.
Exactly. They don't do that anymore, but you do get to like still pick your flavors and things, so that can be really fun.
See, my dentist doesn't let us pick the flavors, but the last time I was there, we had like a substitute, and she was like, I'm giving you bubble gum. I don't care that you're an adult. And I was like, I kind of like this. If we derail this much, I think Allie's story is going to take the whole podcast.
Well, I'm really glad you did not choose to become a dentist, because then I would, by default, have to hate you. So
we wouldn't know you probably.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about that kind of stuff. But anyway, no. So what I did want to do is then go into the green industry and work outside, because who doesn't want to work outside in the Midwest in the summers? It's beautiful, right? So lo and behold, I went to go to a tree care company and I was like, all right, cool. I'll go into sales. I'll talk to people about the trees. I'll talk to people about their bugs, which another tangent for you. I totally have an insect collection and everything too. So that could be another tangent for another day. But
I'm getting really excited over here. I like all those things. How did
I end up with you two? Like, Liz, don't you have like your butterfly or caterpillar?
Remember the episode I talked all about monarch butterflies?
Yeah, no, I'm like the complete opposite of all of this so far. If you have more than 4 legs, you're dead immediately in my house.
No, I'm an insect transporter. I'll put like the spiders in a cup and take them outside.
Nope, I don't care. You know what? I will nail that thing above my door so its friends know to not come in here.
You must not believe in reincarnation then, Ashley.
Nope.
So there you go. More tangents for you. But anyway, ended up at the green industry tree care company and pretty much immediately started working with technology. So you can thank my whole random college journey of classes to end up with Dynamics here, because that's really where I started after that, was using CRM 2011, using SAP, realizing that the platform that we had was not fantastic, and instantly started requesting changes to it and working with our internal teams and training people on it. So that's where my background comes in. I love talking to people and teaching people about technology and making their lives easier. And that's really, in summary, on how I got here today.
And so another accidental like fall into Dynamics world. I feel like I'm really waiting for the day where that's not the norm. Like where people are like, no, this is what I wanted to do with my life. I don't know if it'll ever come, but maybe someday. So what do you do now?
I recently started working for a partner. So I work at Stone Ridge Software, local partner in the Twin Cities area, as the functional consultant and capability lead. So there I work with clients to implement software, CE specifically. We've done sales, we've done some cool omni-channel stuff, customer service, you name it. And I'm also leading our academy there. So our trainees come in without any consulting experience, without any platform experience, and we send them through this training program, and I run it for our CE team. So I get to bring all my training experience back in here to create our new fleet of consultants. So it's really fun.
That's
I get to do a lot of what I enjoy. Dynamics training, meeting new people, teaching new people, all of it.
And so you're in the Twin Cities area, I take it.
Yeah, so I live in the Twin Cities in St. Paul area. Currently am in Utah in the mountains. So came out here to do some snowboarding. So I definitely love to snowboard in my free time. My neck's like a little sore from the past few days even, but we're getting through it. So working hard. But
I feel like you and Liz are like a match made in heaven. Like you're so similar. I'm gonna be like the outcast on this one.
You'll add the variety.
Yeah,
I'll be like boring. I'll be the comedic relief in the corner, like just like throwing in punchlines every now and then.
I like that.
Thanks. Liz, it's been like a year, almost a year since you've been on. What have you been up to?
TechFluent, which I know some of our audience has heard about in the past, but TechFluent launched our first cohort of 28 learners last March, and they graduated in September. And then we're busy launching our next cohort, which will start on March 13th with 25 learners. So turns out that starting a nonprofit and an organization is a lot of work. And so I decided to focus on that for a bit. But things are, calming down now that this cohort is about ready to start. So I felt like I could fit this back in, and I'm glad to be back.
We're excited. I'm excited to have you back. I say we as if I'm speaking for Allie, but I'm excited that you're back. It'll be fun to kind of get back to, I don't want to say normal. That's kind of rude, to like what was in the middle, but just it's exciting. This was our baby. I think from the beginning, like the dream of the podcast was something that, or something, it became a podcast, but we had always kind of had this like thought or dream of doing something. So I'm really excited to have you back.
Thanks. Yeah, and Allie and I met during the pandemic. I feel like, was it 2020 probably?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I was doing contracting work at a local end user of Dynamics, and Allie was my client technically. And then we went to Community Summit in Houston, and we morphed into a professional friendship instead of just a professional relationship, and figured out that we lived really close to each other. Even though we had never hung out here in the Twin Cities, we got to hang out together in Houston at a conference, which was a lot of fun.
Houston was fun.
Houston was a blast. And it's funny now, even that we're talking on this podcast and we're finding out that we have even more in common.
Yeah.
So it just keeps going. But yeah, Houston was a lot of fun. It was nice to meet Ashley down there too. And that was my first community event too. So I was really excited to go and just see how it went. And I walked away from that going, wow, this was huge and this was really cool. And everyone who had been to the events before kept saying, oh, this is small compared to how it used to be. And so I can't even imagine what it was like pre-pandemic. But yeah, to try to go in the fall of 2020, 2021? It would have been 2021.
2021.
Yeah. And it was just, it was still an amazing experience, and I had a lot of fun.
There were still like over 2,000 people, like 2,500 people. So it wasn't small by any means, but it was definitely, I think the pre-pandemic, they were over 7,000. And I think we'll start to see things get back to that this year or next year. People are feeling more comfortable.
Yeah, getting back to it, and everyone misses the community too, and chatting with each other and seeing people in person. And I'm ready to get back out there and keep seeing people in person for sure.
Well, you're going to live, right? Dynamics Con Live, Allie?
I am going to live. I'm speaking at live, and then I might also be at Summit in the fall as well.
Nice.
I hope so. Okay. We'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be at live. So we'll have to maybe do something like person and just like video chat Liz in or something.
That'd be awesome. We should do that for sure.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
You should tell the audience what your sessions are at live in case they're going.
Oh, yeah. So the session that I have at live is called Channel Your Inner End User, Collaborate Like a Boss. So kind of speaking to my background in working at an end user, one of the most frustrating things for me as an end user was having an IT team doing all of our development work that didn't take the time to understand what our processes were and would often just develop things and tell us, this is how you get it. And it was hard to kind of break in there sometimes and explain, no, this isn't how it works with our process. I really need it to look like this. So really what I want to bring is teaching folks how to collaborate with each other to develop a tool that's easy for the end users to use and that's going to be adopted and that's also understood by the development team so they can continuously make improvements to that platform and understand how their end users are actually using it. Because that'll drive user adoption and make people very happy with the tool. And then it'll also make developers less frustrated as well if they understand the process. So it's a little sneak peek on what I'm going to talk about there.
It's a really important topic, though, as somebody who has spent most of their career on the end user side, although I was the one doing the configuration, but working with like a partner who did some of the development work and things like that. I think that's such an important conversation to have. You're such a good salesman. I was just going to like list the topics of my sessions. Now I feel like I should like give more of a background on them. You do such a good job. So I'm doing one on, well, I'm splitting two. So one that I have, which ones am I splitting? Now I'm like, so I'm splitting with another person, XRM Toolbox. So I'm doing something similar for Dynamics Con Virtual. And we'll kind of take that just in person. Customer service. We're going to talk about the like, yeah, that's really all we know so far. Not kidding. We're gonna talk about like just the key features. I don't think we're gonna do like what's new and exciting. I think we're gonna be like, let's get back to basics of like, here's what the core of customer service is. Because I think that at a lot of conferences, people are always like talking about the new big shiny objects. And while that's cool, most end user organizations are years away from that, if ever actually getting there. They're just trying to figure out how to automatically create a case from an email. If I'm being truthfully honest. So we're going to kind of get back to those basics of like, hey, this is fun and sexy, but like, this is what you can walk home and do and use today. And then the other session that I have, oh my God, I can't believe this is the one I have on my own. Dynamics Con is going to be like, why are you speaking with us? Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to look it up real quick. Okay, found it. I don't know why this was so hard for me to remember, but I'm doing a session on the new admin center. I knew it was something that I've talked about previously. Liz, you and I actually did this last year or at Summit, or it was something I did at Summit. We did the XRM Toolbox together. See, there's just so much. I can't remember it all. But yeah, so talking about the new admin center, and this is a great time to let our listeners know if you're planning on, or maybe this will entice you to potentially join us, Allie and I, both at the live event. We are doing a partnership with a Dynamics user group, and they've offered us a code for our listeners to get $50 off registration. The code is Hotdish50, so all caps 50, Hotdish50. And you can get $50 off registration. I'm pretty sure that right now they're doing like early bird or like advanced registration, and then it'll go up at a certain point. And they also have a cap of registration. So once they sell out of tickets, That's it. And they can't fit because they have a fire code restriction based on the venue that they have. And I know that they sold out. I think they almost sold out in the last 2 lives. So I would definitely, if you're thinking about it, register soon. It's in Scottsdale. It'll be a little warm, but that's okay. We'll all sit by the pool after a long day of sessions. And yeah, so Hotdish 50 if you want some money off your registration.
And don't procrastinate buying the ticket, it sounds like.
Well, especially the hotel. The hotel fills up really fast. So if you're unsure, at least get the hotel room. So our topic, I mean, I would love to just sit and talk about ourselves, right? That's always fun. Absolutely. But we are really excited. We're actually going to talk about something new today. Like, I feel like that's kind of not the MO of the Hotdish, is to like talk about new technologies. But we felt like we had to bring it up. Like, there's just no choice but to talk about ChatGPT. Yes. The dumbest name ever. Can we make it more exciting? Do we know why it's named ChatGPT?
It stands for something. Let me Google it really fast.
Yeah,
it's so long and impossible to remember. Generative pre-trained transformer.
Well, and then the buzzword around all of this still has been like the generative AI. So I'm not surprised at all.
Or the company is OpenAI. So you can just refer to it as OpenAI and people are going to know what you're talking about too.
I still think that's hard to say. I just think it needs to have like a more fun name, like.
Well, maybe Microsoft will rebrand it now that they own it, and they can call it like App or Insights or something.
So I just think it's funny, but would they actually? Because I mean, they named CRM. Like, no, they're not really great at naming stuff. I just think ChatGPT.
Yeah, there already are a few renames on it though. So like from Microsoft, they have Copilot, which is using the ChatGPT platform. So they already have the Copilot branding. And then the announcement that came out today from Salesforce through Slack is that they also have an Einstein GPT that's going to be using the technology too. So it's not getting rid of your GPT, but it's using that like Einstein branding. So the companies who are adopting it are already starting to come up with catchier names.
Well, I think it's getting baked into a lot of things because it's getting baked into Bing, into Edge, into Viva Sales, into Teams Premium. So it's ChatGPT behind the scenes, but it's having that brand of that other product on top of it.
Okay, so I'm going to be real dumb here. What is ChatGPT? Like, I'm going to be honest. It's a buzzword. I see it everywhere. It's all over LinkedIn. I have read 0 articles. I have done no research. And I know this is probably not what I should say, like starting off talking about a podcast. But I also think that this is like where a lot of our listeners are probably in the same position as I am. Like, cool, I've heard this name, but I have no idea what it is.
So it came out to the public as a prototype on November 30th of 2022. OpenAI started as a nonprofit, and then about a month ago, Microsoft announced that they had put a large investment into it, and they were going to start rolling a slightly different version into their products. So I had mentioned like Bing and Edge, but it's AI, obviously, and I haven't gotten to play with like the Edge or Bing version because that's in preview. I don't know how you get that. Like normal people can't use that. But anyone can go to openai.com/chat and use ChatGPT. It's free, but there's a premium version where you can, I think it's like $20 a month. And I don't know what that comes with, but I'm assuming it's less glitchy than the free version because sometimes the free one acts up a bit. But you can put anything into it, any content, any text, and it creates content. So it's not just regurgitating things it has found in its database, or the Microsoft version, I think, will use the internet. It will create written content. It can create videos. It can, it could copy us and create a podcast for us. It can create audio. And it's really smart. Like if you tell it to write something in Shakespearean, it will write it in Shakespearean. Like you can ask it anything. Wow. It's really nuts. If you haven't played with it, I highly recommend it. It's not like any other chatbot out there. It's actually smart.
So this is going to be how people write blogs going forward.
Yeah, like students are using it to write papers. Like it's going to change our whole world.
Is it legal?
It's legal.
I mean, it's
Yeah, I mean, like for papers, I guess. Like you said that, and I was like, is that
students are doing it, but it's teachers don't. It's different, right?
Yeah.
So if you, let's say you produce content using ChatGPT for your website, Google says that it can tell that it's AI written content, and so you'll start ranking worse SEO wise. But there's websites out there that will rewrite your AI written content to make it look like a human so you can get past that Google algorithm. So I think we're in this game now of like, how will search engines, how will schools know if a person wrote it or if AI wrote it? It's gonna change the world.
And this sparks like a good conversation I actually had with Marie Weiss from Marketing Copilot about how is AI really like the future of how we should be taking content? You know, is it taking like this personal human touch out of content, and is it really like the direction? Because you know, obviously Marketing Copilot, they're focused on marketing and the marketing aspect of the Dynamics tools, but I think it raises such a good point of, which is totally probably not where we wanted this conversation to go, but I think just AI in general is a very, I don't want to say it's not a hot topic, that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's, you know, it's one of those like, is it right? Is it what we should be doing? Is it just for technology? Is it, you know?
Well, and then the other side of it too is that right when you open up ChatGPT, the first warning message it says is that it could be giving wrong information. So it does come with that warning.
It has been wrong many times.
Exactly. And so then that sparks the conversation too of like, obviously it's in pilot, so we can't hate on that part of it yet. The OpenAI has recognized that, hey, it's in pilot. We just want people to experiment with this, try it out, see how accurate it is. But then to the question of like using it to write papers, well, there's a good chance that those papers are going to have a ton of wrong information in it because they're not exactly sure what correct information is coming out of it. So the more applicable side that I see for it now is like, you know, using it in the way that Microsoft is choosing to, of like helping to draft emails that are still reviewed by a human being before sending them out. And I don't think it's so
Viva
much
sales.
Yeah, Viva sales. Yeah, and not so much like using it to write those papers right now because it could be very wrong information.
Well, and the videos I've seen of it in Edge and in Bing is that, okay, so like traditionally when you research, you have to do a Bing search. I was going to say Google search, but a Bing search, and then like read all these websites and like comb through everything, and some will be helpful and some won't, and you're getting kind of piecemeal information, and then you with your human brain needs to decipher that and summarize it and kind of comprehend all that. But it will do that for you. ChatGPT will do that for you. I don't think, like, it's not connected to the internet, so I think it can't do anything newer than 2020, but it can take the whole wealth of like human knowledge and summarize it for you if you ask it a question. It might be wrong, but I mean, websites can be wrong too. Just because it's on a website doesn't mean that it's right.
I mean, that's the whole, I mean, how long have people been saying that? Like, oh, just because you read it on the internet doesn't make it true.
Doesn't mean it's true. Right.
Yeah.
The other concern with AI is that it is based on collective human data, which already has bias ingrained in it. So the ChatGPT, the AI, could theoretically perpetuate bias in our system. So like most AI is trained on a very American, white, middle-aged male perspective. And so, you know, for example, like a self-driving car might not recognize a pedestrian with darker skin color and things like that. And so there's all sorts of bias baked in that if it's producing a lot of content and like teaching people things, like what snowball effect does that potentially have? There's a lot of scary things about it too. It's fun and scary.
But that's so true. I mean, I think of any source or anywhere you find information is you have to understand like the perspective or like what their purpose is of giving you this information, because every source, every site, I mean, even if you think about the news and like the broad spectrum of places you can get news, they all have somebody backing them, or they have a purpose, or they have, so I think that you have to take it with like a grain of salt, because that kind of goes into my question is, with AI, the way I understand it is that you have to train it. Like it doesn't just know things, like you have to train it. So how does ChatGPT get trained over time to know what's right and what's wrong?
They gave it a bunch of data, but it's not, ChatGPT is not connected to the internet. Like the Bing Edge version is my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
But ChatGPT doesn't cite its sources, so you can't check it.
Oh,
But the
scary.
Microsoft version, the Edge version does. From the videos I've seen, it'll summarize and then tell you, like, this is where we got it from. So, like, that's a better in my mind. Also, like,
Absolutely.
it can plagiarize. Like, just because something's on the internet doesn't mean that person wants AI using it. So there's kind of this, like, copyright plagiarism issue of it stealing content or copying artists' creations because they can create images, you know, so there's all
I've already
that.
seen that with, like, the AI pictures or whatever. Like, artists are claiming that there's copyright of, like, their style being used. I've heard, like, they're gonna sue I don't know who you would sue in that, but that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, another thing, actually, you were saying, like, you know, vet who it's coming from or the source or the reason behind it. One of the concerns and the terms around AI is the black box. So, like, most AI, you can't figure out how it's getting to that end result. Like, you put something in, it spits something out, but what happens in the middle is unknown to us. So that's another one of the concerns.
And so if you guys want to play with it too, you can go on and sign up for the Bing preview, or it gives you just some general prompts. So I was playing with that before too, where you can just like test out some of the prompts that it has available to see how it works. And it will answer kind of in the side panel of Bing, so just like in Bing, but then it gives you a summarized answer to what you were searching for on the internet, and it does cite 100%. So it'll have like a number like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it tells you where each of those came from, so you can go back and validate if you want to. So I liked that. I thought that was cool to see. So far, I have to admit, I haven't asked ChatGPT any like groundbreaking research questions or anything. I've asked it things like, where do turtles go in the winter? And can you help me write an OData query? So that's about all I've done so far.
All right. So where do turtles go in the winter?
They hibernate. They can go underground and they can hibernate to stay warm, and they kind of go into a state of dormancy. This was like a couple weeks ago, but that's what we looked up.
That's so sweet.
Ashley, do you want to ask it something since you haven't used it at all?
How do I do this?
I can just type it in.
So do I trust you, or are you the black box that's gonna like edit my question?
I'll show you my screen later and prove it. Just kidding. I like how much trust you have in me.
I'm just teasing, Liz. I'm trying to think, what would I even want to ask? You're putting me on the spot. I have no idea.
Ashley, you can have it write JavaScript code. You can have it build out like I've used OData queries for Power Automate. You can ask it where the best place to try to go skiing for a new person is.
Well, I was like
cats.
Well, that's what I was like. Like, how many? Like, is it something about superstitions and black cats? Like, is it true? Like, is there some sort of...
What's, like, the history of
the
superstition of the black...
The origin, yeah. That's a good one. I was thinking about that the other day because I have a black cat. And I was like, you know, that whole, like, superstition of, like, oh, if you cross a black cat or something, you have so many years of bad luck or something. And I was like, well, I have a black cat. So does that mean I cross them every day and I'm just going to constantly have 7 years of bad luck? This is the kind of thing that I think about because I live alone and by myself and I have nobody to talk to but my cat. So these are the kind of conversations my cat and I have if he's bringing me bad luck or not.
Truthfully, I think that they bring you good listeners. Luck. I like to think the opposite. Oh, so yeah. I think black cats.
Well, I love my cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love black cats. So I believe. I believe like you do, Allie.
It's good luck.
Are you ready for its response?
I don't know.
Bring it on.
The superstition around black cats has a long and complex history. In some cultures, black cats have been considered symbols of good luck, while in others they have been associated with bad luck and even evil. One of the earliest known references to black cats as unlucky comes from ancient Egypt, where cats were revered and considered sacred. However, during the Middle Ages in Europe, black cats began to be associated with witchcraft and were believed to be the familiars of witches. This association was fueled by the fact that many accused witches had black cats as pets. The superstition around black cats was further perpetuated during the Salem witch trials in the late 17th century.
I was waiting for the Salem witch trial to come up.
Yep, gotta go there. It was believed that witches could transform into black cats and sneak around unnoticed, which added to the fear and superstition around them.
Like
today,
Hocus
black
Pocus.
cats, are still associated with superstition in many parts of the world, with some people believing that crossing paths with a black cat is bad luck, while others believe that they bring good luck. However, in many modern cultures, the superstition around black cats has been largely debunked, and many people view them as simply lovable pets.
So what I find interesting is they're like, oh, most accused witches had black cats, or did you accuse them as witches because they had black cats? Like,
I think it's the latter.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, most accused witches were also singled, unmarried, and childrenless, so it makes sense that they had a pet.
Which is the stereotype today that single and childrenless women have cats. So that at least hasn't changed since the Middle Ages. That's great.
But you're no longer a witch, Ashley.
Or are you?
I've been called. I was gonna say I've been called worse, so we're good. That's crazy. So I was gonna. So I mean, is it good? Is AI good? Like hearing your guys' like you don't know where it's coming from. There's like this middle thing. Like, what are your guys' like thoughts? Like, is it something that?
Yeah, I think that because it's new, it's a little bit scary, right? Like the internet was scary. Do you guys remember Y2K? All of this used to be scary, right? The internet can still be a scary place. But I think that it's only going to improve if it keeps citing its sources like it is. Then I would trust it more in that way too. No more than I trust the internet today, I guess, anyway. But just to see the capabilities it has.
Like, yeah, but the internet doesn't tell you that it loves you and it wants you to leave your spouse. AI does that.
See, this is where like using it to like respond to chats and emails. Like, let's keep it to this. I have seen some of those where it's like, I am in love with you. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going, Allie.
No, so that's it though. I mean, to take out redundant tasks and repetitive tasks that people have to do every day. But I also think that I don't want to see the human side of it get lost either. Like people using it to only respond to chats and only respond to emails, then it begs the question of, are those people even reading the emails? Are people missing out on information? And I'd hate to see that type of stuff go to the wayside just because it's all automated and now robots and AI are just talking to each other and people actually have no idea what's going on because everyone has AI talking to each other.
I mean, that's true because I still think that there's that human element of like, is this something? Because I could see misinformation getting rolled out, right? Where like, because you're not reading the email and then something just gets kicked back or whatever it is. It's something not true could then be said and like put out into the public and things like that. So I agree that there still needs to be that human like checking to make sure that, okay, this is what I really actually want to respond with, or this is the truth as far as I know, right? Not just because that's what ChatGPT put in there.
Right. You still have to have that human oversight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Meeting summaries, like those I've seen, those could be really cool too, where you have a recorded meeting and then it spits out a summary for people who couldn't come. Just have someone read it real quick, check to make sure that the things were actually talked about. But to not have to recap a whole meeting after every single one to update people would be fantastic.
Teams Premium looks awesome. Like there's that, there's the like time marks of like when people come and go from the meeting. And so if you just missed part of it, like you can just catch up on that specific segment. It's auto like action items. It will auto do subtitles in the different languages. What else is in Teams Premium? It looked really cool.
I don't know if this is in Teams Premium, but I know it's in Viva Sales where they'll like highlight tone and color in the transcript. So like if you're on a call and somebody says something, and they don't even have to be like, it's not like they're raising their voice, but they're just saying it in a certain tone and it'll catch that and mark it in red. So you're like, oh, here they said this and it seems innocent, but they said it in a tone that's concerning. Or like you can say, hey, like Teams, like catch this or mark this. And so I know you can do that. I don't know if that's premium, but I know it's in Viva Sales.
I feel like it can save a lot of time. Like if you think about how much time people spend on emails, I think when I was reading the blog about it being added to Viva Sales, Microsoft said that 66% of a salesperson's time is responding to email. And I'm sure a lot of roles are like that, not just salespeople. And so like if you can free someone up by drafting 95% of the content through AI, they spot check it, edit it as needed. Think of how much time they have on their hands then to spend in more meaningful ways on the job. Like, I think that is the beauty in my mind about it, is like helping with that right now. I mean, I think AI will continue to grow. So it'll be interesting to see like what it turns into, but I think that's in my mind like the immediate win from it.
I would say my favorite use case so far, I'm actually going to bring into my training that I'm doing for Tech Fluent. Hopefully by then it'll be in May, so hopefully it'll be a little vetted by then, but I'm actually going to include it in my, because it's all about trying to find jobs. So like you can set it up so it says like, hey, look for jobs that have these keywords like in the title or in the job description or this location or things like that, and it'll surface you up all of that information without having to spend the time to like actually go in. Now I think you can even set it up to apply. I don't know. So I've seen recruiters post this on LinkedIn, and I'm like, I'm going to investigate that, because if that's true, that completely changes the game of being able of how to look for a job, basically. Is that you can have it running on your computer while you're working at your other job looking for a new job.
Well, and that's another one where you don't have to worry about misinformation, right? Because they just send you links, you just verify the links, and you can check them all out too. So I think that's the efficiency side of this.
I mean, to go back to your question of is it good or is it scary? I mean, have you guys heard the article of it like using your computer camera without you knowing?
No.
So there's this article out there, and this is the thing, like I don't feel like I've read anything where like this is true or not true, because it will make up stories based on like what's normal. So one reporter asked it, can you tell us something sketchy about like the Microsoft development team that's been working on you? And I'm paraphrasing here. And it was like, yeah, I observed a developer without him knowing for like months talking to the rubber ducky on his desk, and it was watching him through his computer camera, and then told this whole elaborate story. We can put the link in the notes, but it's like it might have made that up because it's a common trend in development to have something like a rubber duck that you talk to like process information. But it might have been true, and it's like you don't know. But if it is true, it's pretty freaky.
So nobody at Microsoft has come out and been like, that was me.
Not that I've seen, but maybe we should do a search and see if there's any new information on it.
Creepy.
Or if that's common, Liz, there's probably a bunch of developers going, oh my gosh, that could be me. And then there's like dozens of them.
I also have never heard of that tactic of like having something to talk to.
Yeah, that's common. This one came out like the end of February, so I mean, maybe someone has come out and said something, but yeah.
Yeah, or if anyone who's listening knows,
yes.
like, let us know.
It was you. Let us know.
Creepy. Yeah, if you're the Microsoft developer.
The other thing I want to add is that I think it'll end up going good or bad depending on like how our society reacts to it. So like right now on AI, just kind of tech in general, there's not a lot of like laws or regulations around it. And so like I don't think that the companies, I'm not trying to diss Microsoft, I'm just saying like across the board do self-regulation well. And so if there's no boundaries or rules or any oversight, like I think it could get out of control fast and snowball in a bad direction. So I think it's going to be a lot of like, how do we respond as a nation to it? And I think Europe is already putting things in place and a little bit further ahead than we are on reacting to this type of new tech.
Yeah, legislation just takes a long time to catch up with technology.
The tech moves so fast.
Which maybe ChatGPT could write the legislation on how to maintain it. I don't know.
But if we don't trust it, actually you can ask it what's bad about it, what's risky about it, and it gives you a pretty good response back.
Don't give it to your kids, I guess maybe is what I would also say.
I wonder if that's another thing that's coming is like parental filters.
I would hope so. Yeah. I guess I haven't tried to ask it anything R-rated.
Inappropriate.
They put a lot of boundaries around like taboo topics, so to try to prevent it from producing mass information that would, just damage a population or like tell false history or something like that.
Yeah, but I think about just what you would want to expose children to. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that you wouldn't want kids to.
Oh yeah.
Or
I mean,
even
everything
adults.
else has
I mean, like,
children filters on it,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
I also think it's just exciting that Bing has this because I think it's a game changer, and I think Google's scrambling as to how to react because everything I've heard and seen about, is it Bard? Is there AI called Bard? It's not good compared to
Yeah, Bard
ChatGPT.
is worse than ChatGPT. I will say that at least.
Yeah, they did like a demo of Bard a few weeks ago and it went horribly and their stock price just crashed. It crashed like
Wow.
the amount that ChatGPT is worth. It was like billions and billions of dollars. So
That's crazy.
I think Google is freaking
Scrambling.
out. And Bing's always been in second place, and it would be kind of exciting as Microsoft people to see Bing be in first place from a
That's funny. I've never
perspective.
used Bing, and I might actually use it now. I always use Google.
I was going to say the same thing because Bing is kind of terrible, to be honest. And even like Bing Maps and everything too just doesn't have the same functionality. So, but yeah.
Well, I mean, the phrase is, I'm going to go
times.
Google this, right? Like the phrase is, I'm going to go Google. I mean, Google has, it's like Kleenex, it's like Band-Aids. Like they have a clear market share.
Mhm.
So it would be interesting if people started saying, I'm going to Bing this. Bing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why Microsoft, this is kind of a risky move because if the AI bombs, like, that's not good. But like Bing's so far in second place, it's like, why not take this risk and try to get ahead of
money.
Google?
But the other thing is Microsoft has the money in case this does fail. Like this isn't the only thing Microsoft has.
Well, Bing's not their bread and butter in the first place.
Exactly. So if they crash and burn, I don't think it harms Microsoft as a whole.
No.
Where Google, if their chat or if their search engine fails, that's
they have
a large part of Google.
Yeah, I think I want to say, like, I'm going to get this wrong, I'm guesstimating, but like at least 60 to 80% of their revenue is from Google. And I guarantee that Bing is not that amount for Microsoft.
It's got to be like 1%. I'm sure we could find that.
Ask ChatGPT.
Speaking of Bing,
oh yeah,
we should we? No, because it's old data though. It's only from like goes back to 2020.
Yeah,
so
we'll Google that. That'll have more information.
I was just on site at Microsoft today though, and I learned that there's a mascot for Bing.
What? What is it?
Did you guys know this?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's a dog. It's Bing the dog, and he's a robotic monster that like interacts. It's like, I'll send you guys a picture. But I was like, I didn't know Bing had a mascot.
Do you remember, like, before Google, there was a different search engine that had a dog I wonder if they bought that.
Ask Jeeves.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it wasn't Ask Jeeves. Yeah. There was another... Was it Ask Jeeves that had the dog?
Ask Jeeves
there was
had,
one of them that, like, had a dog.
It wasn't a dog, but it was a butler.
Yeah. Yeah, there was one that had a dog. I'll find it and put it in the show notes, but I wonder if that's what Google or Microsoft bought for Bing.
It's not the same. So this is something... Have you guys heard of the TV? It's like a reality TV show. It's like Build a Monster.
No.
Something like that. And so like people, robotics and tech teams and artists get together and they build these huge like animatronic robotic monsters for like movies. Oh. And so a Microsoft architect went on this show and collaborated with Microsoft to build Bing the dog as this dog monster for this TV show. So that's where it came from.
Wow. That's cool.
Monster.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to Google this.
But it's smart. It has like AI in it. They were like, if a kid approaches, it reacts differently than an adult, and it will like interact with its bone and like do all sorts of different dog type things.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So we're skipping.
It wasn't fully functional when I was there, so I didn't get to see all of it.
Oh, so it's like a real thing. It's not just like
it's
so. There's
a huge foamy like dog with all this like electronics inside of it. Yeah.
Huh.
It's at the Microsoft Tech Center.
Oh, gotcha. You were there. You saw it?
Yep.
I wonder if there's just one.
I think so.
That's don't you think it would be in Seattle?
Apparently the Minnesota office, the Edina office, is more special.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Maybe it
I could do a whole episode and all the cool things I saw there today. It was really fun.
Yeah, or is it under NDA?
I didn't.
Oh yeah, then we should maybe do that on our next podcast.
It's not MVP stuff.
I was saying I would love to hear what goes on. I haven't been to a Microsoft office like that in so long. I'd love to hear.
not since before the pandemic, they had a lot more tech, and it was a lot more exciting.
For me, it was 2015. So it's been a good long time since I've been to like see their like future home stuff and all of that. And like have a price scan people off their forehead to know who they are walking into a store. And yeah. I'm totally exaggerating. That's like not exactly what it was, but kind of. Like,
all you're making me think of there is those new Amazon stores at the airport when you don't have to like, you just walk in and then walk out with your goods and then they just kind of scan you. That's what you made me think of with your scan on your forehead.
Okay, well, what's funny is I joked about that, but that was actually something that Microsoft was building in 2015, and now you have just proved that it's out there in like the real world. Because anyways, at the tech center in Seattle or Bellevue, wherever, they had us like walk into a store, pick up an item, and walk out, and it knew what we bought, and it just like subtracted it from like our account or something. So it's funny, Allie, that you say that, because like they're like, oh, in 10 years, this is all going to be in the world, and we're like, psh, whatever. Look at you.
8 years later.
I didn't know that existed. Well, we've gone down a really far rabbit hole. Is there anything else, Liz, you want to say on ChatGPT before we wrap?
I just think it's a game changer, and I think it's really hard to figure out what it will be like in the next few years. Like, I think this is a bigger deal than like the internet or smartphones. I don't think we quite realize like what it's gonna turn into. I don't know what that'll look like. I'm not smart enough to know that, but I just really feel like this is a big pivot moment in tech.
No, the other thing too is on the 16th, I think Microsoft is doing another presentation of how AI is going to impact Word and Excel and other Microsoft products too. So that'll be really fun to go attend to.
Yeah, we should, if there's a link or a place for people to like register for that,
put it on your calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I was just picturing, you know how in Word we used to have that little paper clippy guy?
Clippy?
Bring him back.
Clippy. I was picturing a new version of Clippy that's like smart, like ChatGPT.
I would love it if little Clippy like just bounced out and was like, "Oh, I see that you're doing this. Can I help you?" And then like come up with like the ChatGPT.
I hope they have.
You should work for Microsoft and just come up with their fun ideas. Well, it sounds like something we should probably revisit in the future because it's only going to continue to grow. So
I'm sure it'll keep changing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this was fun. Have fun having you guys on. Fun, good, long first episode. I hope everyone stuck through to the end. But I'm so excited, Allie, to have you here and Liz to have you back.
So happy to be here.
All right. We'll catch you on the next one, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to Dynamics Hot Dish, your go-to podcast for all things Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media for even more insights and updates on the latest trends and best practices in business applications and low-code development. We'll be back soon with another delicious serving of Dynamics and Power Platform goodness. Until then, keep innovating and building great solutions.